Before we have any type of relationship that is good with others, we have to have an amazing relationship with ourselves. We have to be honest, truthful about our flaws and our greatness. But one thing we got to do is be impeccable with our word. My name is Nick Tabor. I'm a personal trainer. I talk about this stuff on this channel because I've lived through it. Now, this week we are talking about the Four Agreements book primarily, and because what we are doing is really focusing on mental health at the time of the COVID-19 issues at the time of recording this. And I was asked specifically to focus on this book by one of my clients because they were having a little few issues themselves about getting through this with a hard time. And I was like, all right, great. So we'll do that. Step number one out of the four agreements is to be impeccable with your word. Now, we think about what this is, and being impeccable means that you're flawless. You have no issues whatsoever, but impeccable is also honesty, and honesty to a fault. Now, let's focus on that side of the argument for now, because if you're impeccable, if you have flawless honesty with yourself, your word is you. What you say, how you do things, and how you project yourself is the best thing. That is 100% what will be you. You ever hear the phrase "perception is reality"? Well, the perception of you is what you say. What you say, how you do, right? So, when I was growing up, I had the cerebral palsy issues, and I invented personas about myself, and I didn't realize until I was in my 30s as to why I did that was because I hated who I was. I hated who I've become, and I didn't know my own self first. And because I wasn't honest about who I was, the struggles I've had, why I am in the position that I am today, I couldn't do anything else. It led to anger issues. It led to lashing out to myself, addiction problems, and several other things that I just went, it has to change. Life has to change. Things have to be better. Now, being impeccable with your word is not something we can always do because it's the first struggle, but it's the easiest one to master. And everything else we're going to do is in this particular sequence because if you screw up on one of them, you can fall back on the others. So, for instance, the next video, tomorrow's video, is don't take anything personally. If you suddenly do, you have to fall back on being honest with yourself and your word. So, oh man, I had a nervous breakdown a few years ago, and immediately I was put on probation at my job. And everybody was for me to try to be able to pull out of this and said, you have 30 days to improve or you're out of a job. And it was a long time coming, but the performance plan was probably one of the best things of my life. And I had to be honest with what my problems were. I am, because of the cerebral palsy and because of the things that I've done when I've grown up, I learned that I had to handle everything on my own. And my parents, who did a phenomenal job raising me and are still two of my best friends ever, they taught me to, okay, no, don't ask for assistance to do that. No, you can get your own food. And it wasn't that I was scolded, but it was just if I handled something like, reaching out and shutting a door with my right hand, it was like, hey, you did it. And it was really strongly celebrated that I did stuff by myself. And as I started to have issues and deal with death and deal with things in my life, the nervous breakdown was from the fact that I had to try to perform CPR on somebody who died of a drug overdose. And I wasn't able to save him. I wasn't able to do anything more, and that was horrific. And I got in there, tried everything I could, and the gentleman was dead. Like, there was no other way to say it. This man was gone. But in my head, because I lived the fantasy of being this great guy, or in my head up till I was 31, I had it in my mind that I built up to be almost invisible. Like, oh, I've got this, I'm, better than realizing, wow, I'm not as strong as I was meant to be. And you go back and you realize you're like, Jesus, okay, yeah. You did everything you could. I know I did everything I could, but I couldn't save that man because that man couldn't save himself. He had a lot of issues that we couldn't do. And in this time of COVID-19 where, suddenly things are shut down, suddenly, boom, there's layoffs, and you're suddenly trying to pay bills. You might have been that supercharged person that paid every bill, that took care of the family, and then now you need some time. You need to say, hey, I gotta step back for a second and figure out my bloody effing life. And all of you in the circle need to help me. And if it's your true circle and you've got to be, when you're vulnerable, this is why you need to talk and you need to say, hey, I have an issue. Now, back to that problem that I had where I nearly got kicked out of my day job, I was thinking to myself, like, I can do this, I can build it. No. I need to take feedback, and I had to learn that I need to have help from others. And I had to learn and be truthful to myself and say, I'm not invisible. And all the things I've done in my life, I'm not the person that can handle everything on my own. I had to have a very serious talk with my wife about what do we do, how do we handle things, what can we do, how can we move forward from this, and how can I get better. And I went into therapy to be able to try to help myself and get better. Still hurts every once in a while when it comes up, but now, the PTSD side of things are fine. But for you, for being impeccable with your word, there's a 3-step process here. Number 1, get your tribe in order. We've talked about tribes in the past. What we want to do is get that tribal instinct to get your 3 to 5 people who are your closest ones around you and just say, look, where am I going? What can I do? My 3 to 5 were in the work world, were some people who I got close to, and my boss. And I said, okay, I'm an open book. What do I need to do? How can I do that? And I improved within 10 days, 20 days. And they're like, you're actually fine. And, it was hard, but I had to do it, as I had to be honest with myself and say, I need help. Number 2, take a blank piece of paper and look at anything that bothers you. Just write it all down and just say to yourself, how could I have done better? The answer is no on every single one of them, but I want you to go ahead and prove me wrong and see that you could have done things, because it's going to pay off in Friday's video, and I want you to come back to that list and say, what can I do to be better? What could I do, or how could I have done more? And I looked at it and said, no, I've done what I could, and it's a practice in honesty of being honest with ourselves and growing up and doing more with things, right? Number 3, be truthful with yourself and to people who are closest to you. even if it hurts. Now you've got your tribe, you've got your list, and you've got the honesty part. Mark, put a mental marker in your head, and just say, I can't lie anymore. I can't do this. I can only do what I can do. You're struggling financially, you're doing everything, and you're just gonna be flat out honest. And yes, it's like Jim Carrey's Yes Man movie. Like you are just going to just be truthful, or liar if you're as old as me. And you just flat out accept the experience that's in front of you, because only if you're honest with the person who you love and you're honest about what you're dealing with, only then will the chips lie out there and say, bam, okay, now that it's all out there, I can deal with it. And now that it's out there, I can maneuver and I can be better. So there we are, impeccable with your word. So keep that sheet. There's another video, yesterday's video right here. I want you to go ahead and take a look at that. We will go ahead, see you tomorrow, and discuss not taking anything personally. Okay. See you tomorrow. As always, we climb. I'll see you there.